Okay, so surface area of a cylinder is the same idea as surface area of a perimeter. You're talking about the area of each of the spaces that you can see on the outside. Now, as you can see, if a cylinder it is made up of a circle on top, a circle on bottom, and if you can imagine, it's a rectangle in the middle, a bit like, if you had a piece of paper that you curved it to make into a cylinder, and then you put a lid and a bottom on it, a bit like a can of Coke or can of baked beans or whatever the case is. Something you need to be aware of is this component of the formula is the two circles, because you look at it. There is your pi r squared. That's the formula for one circle. There's 2 to represent two circles, the top and the bottom. Second part of it, the formula, so just back to that, that's two circles. Okay, whereas this component of the formula represents the rectangle in the middle. Okay, the reason it's not length times base or length times height is because there's your one dimension, here is your height. Okay, but in this case, if you can imagine, and I'll demonstrate it better in class, but that length there, so this blue bit that I'm drawing right now, is in actual fact the same length as the circumference of the circle above, because that length, the blue bit, is what surrounds the outside of that circle, which of course makes the cylinder. Now, as you know, the formula for circumference of a circle is 2 pi r. So that 2 pi r becomes the length of that rectangle. And of course, the height is still the height of the rectangle. So this formula for the rectangle in the middle for its surface area in actual fact is 2 pi r, which is the length, and the h, which represents the height. So basically the formula for a surface area of a closed cylinder, is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Now that is for closed, in other words, meaning it has a lid and it has a bottom that seals it. If you just wanted, say for example, a pipe that had water going through it, then it would just be the 2 pi r, it would just be the rectangle component. Okay, if you had a cylinder that just had a base, like a glass, but had no lid on it, then it would just be one circle, which would be the bottom, plus the 2 pi RH, which would be the cylinder component. Okay, so the one formula can be manipulated to be just a pipe without a top or a bottom, or for example a glass without a top. Now to actually find the surface of a cylinder is easy once you've got the formula, which is just the two circles, the area of the two circles plus the area of the middle bit, the 2 pi RH. And after that you just substitute in everything you know. In this case, the radius is from the centre to there, which of course is 6. The h is equal to 20, so I've got my r and my height. So it's 2 times pi times 6 squared plus 2 times pi times 6 again times 20. Okay, now once again I've typed everything in. I've just done 2 lines with exact form. You do not have to do these. These are just me trying to show you some extra stuff. There's the answer, 980.2, because it did say to 1 decimal place above, and of course it is square centimetres. Now when doing anything that represents a half or quarter of a cylinder, please read the question carefully to ensure that if it's solid, for example, has a top, or if it happens to be open like a barrel or a water trough or something. So in this particular example it says find corrected 2 decimal places the surface area of a open half cylinder. Okay, so being open means there's nothing here, nothing in that top bit. So in other words, you could fill it up with water in a sense, which is great, because all that means is that you work out the area of the surface area of the whole cylinder, and you just divide by 2. Now, something to just think about, I've written out the formula for you. Because the whole thing is to be divided by 2, in actual fact, it is a bit like going pi r squared plus pi r h. Okay, doesn't matter how you do it, but all you got to do is type it in. Notice in the answer when I type it in, I end up with 5.497787, etc. This question did ask it to be to 2 decimal places, and you'll notice that when you go to 2 decimal places, in actual fact it comes to 5.50. So be very careful if you're rounding up. And it's 5.50 square meters, sorry. Okay, so which tent has the greatest surface area? Note the instructions, the floor is included in both tents. Can I suggest you do the working yourself and then get an answer and then come back and look at the video and see if you're correct? Okay, so with the first one, I've just done a bit of the working already. The red section, okay, is the triangles that you've got there, and of course there are 2 of them, front and back. Then you've got the 2 rectangles on the side, which is the green. So they're 5 by 2. Okay, there's your 2 by 5. And of course you've got the other side, the other sloping side. Then of course you've got the base, the bottom bit, which is 2 by 5. Okay, and it's the rectangle on the bottom. And that's that bit there. And when I add each of those sections up, the red, the green and the blue, I end up with 36.4 square metres. Now it's time to do the semicircle. If you notice with the semicircle, it is, of course, notice with the cylinder, it is half a cylinder, okay, which includes this bit here, and it's just been chopped in half. The difference with this one compared to the previous example is that this particular cylinder is closed. In other words, it has a floor that we have to add on. So it's not only just the surface area formula for a cylinder that has to be halved, you also have to add on the blue section because it has a base on it. So this formula here is the surface area of a closed cylinder, but I have to divide it by 2 because the cylinder has been chopped in half, and this part of the formula is for the rectangle on the floor or on the base of the shape. Okay, so you notice with this one I've done all the substitution, so follow that, and of course divided it by 2, added 10, which is the base, and get 28.8. So the question is, which tent has the greatest surface area? Because there's a question, you always need to answer the question. So therefore, tent A has the greater surface area.